Yeah.
Uh, Amazing. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I
I
can
can
see
hear.
you. I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear with the headphones now. Earphones.
Oh, dear God. Thank God so much. Finally.
Yeah.
It happens actually almost all the time, barring few. So,
Okay.
how are you?
I'm fine. I actually
So, you are in,
tried
yeah,
doing this in the morning once to figure things out.
and it worked that time?
Yeah.
It's completely okay. It happens. It has happened before, so I'm completely okay with it. So, Janvi, thank you so much for joining in,
Yeah.
and we will start with a small of introduction.
Sure.
So, please introduce yourself, like what work you are doing and where you are.
Yeah. So I'm Jahanvi and I'm doing my PhD from CES at IISc Bangalore. And I'm just completing my second year now. Time for the comprehensive exam. So that is next week actually. And
Oh,
I've done my bachelor's in zoology, botany, and chemistry from Nainital, Uttarakhand, and then I did my master's in entomology from Uttarakhand again, from Pantnagar University, and now I'm doing my PhD here. So now I'm working on this collective motion of mixed species schools, where we try to understand the interaction rules in the when the group of fish is moving, how they interact with each other and how they are able to make such fascinating patterns. And my work especially focuses on mixed species groups, how two species are able to interact with each other, which is comparatively less literature is available in this field when we talk about the mechanisms of formation of these mixed species groups. So that is the main area of my research right now.
and it definitely differs from same species, how they interact with each other when they are in the group.
Yeah, definitely. Different species will interact in a different manner, and the
Yeah.
coordination will definitely be less as compared to the single species groups. But there will be different kinds of benefits that we are trying to understand.
Okay. And as you just, I think for last 2 years you are working on the on that
Yeah,
proposal or trying to do the same thing in lab, right? And
yeah,
recently you visited, I think, Kalinga Mane to observe the
yeah.
in wild
So
how they are actually
yeah, so for last 2 years we
interacting.
have
Yeah.
yeah, so for 2 years we've been working in lab, and one very big question that always comes up is what is happening in the wild? What you're seeing
Yes.
is just in the lab. So that is a very important part of the research to go out and see if. So the next part of my research is actually to go out there and do these experiments in the wild, and then compare my data with those wild studies and see if actually laboratory studies are changing the results or not, something like that.
Okay. And like when I was in IISc Kolkata, that I was in a lab where people were working on fish,
Yeah,
Professor Anuradha Bhatt. So even that time I had this doubt. When you do an experiment in lab, experiments
yeah,
such as like how they are interacting, there are so many factors in the wild and nature which you can't
yeah.
replicate in lab. So would you elaborate on that? Though, what are those factors? What actually you cannot take under consideration when you are doing in lab?
Yeah. So the major benefit of doing studies in lab is you can control all the conditions. So now I can say that this behavior is under this condition. However, this thing cannot be done in the wild, because a behavior in wild can be due to unlimited variables that we can never understand. So to understand some very innate behavior under a very constant condition, we have to bring them into lab and look at their behavior, and replicability is also possible in lab. So when we do these research in laboratory conditions, the results are much more predictable and reliable and replicable as compared to what we are seeing in nature. You cannot replicate that, and also
True.
not understand why it is happening. Because currently, what I do is I release the fishes inside a white arena. So the conditions are completely constant and there is no stimulus. So now, if I want to see the effect of food, presence of food in that group, so I can just introduce the food in the same condition. And now, if I see a change, I can say that this change is because of the presence of food. This cannot be done in wild. So
Wild, yeah.
yeah, so if I want to answer like very minute details about a question, then I have to do it in lab.
Okay.
But yes, some things will be different. But the things that can be done in laboratory conditions cannot be done in wild.
Yeah, definitely. You don't have any control when it comes to nature and wild. You can
Yeah.
control. And someone has asked a question, Tanisha has asked the question, what different species, what are some of the species you are focusing on?
So one of the major limitation of my work is that we have to do a lot of replicates and we need a lot of fishes. So we have to get
Mhm.
them from vendors. We cannot get them from wild. And since I'm working on collective motion, so the movement of the group, so the size also has to be similar. And with all of these conditions, the pool of species that we can work on becomes very limited. So we have to work on what is available to us. So
What are those different species? What
yeah.
you are working on?
So based on that pool, what we have chosen so far is a pair of barbs, which is tiger barb and rosy barbs, which is a very closely related species, and they are also like geographically overlapping. So we try to understand how they interact with each other. And the other pair that I'm working on is tetras, which is neon tetra and serpitetra. So these four are aquarium species, but they're also obviously there in the wild. And so these two pairs are closely related and geographically overlapping. And what we have found is so far is that one pair is schooling very well, interacting with each other very well. However, the other
Okay.
one separates out. Both are
Okay.
related. So I mean, it's very unpredictable what might happen. So we are trying to understand their interaction rules. And the next step that I want to do is mix some species which are actually not there in nature, which do not have a geographical overlap or a phylogenetic relatedness, and see if they are still able to interact with each other and if the relatedness actually does not matter that much. So one of the
Okay.
major hypothesis that I'm working on is whether it is the relatedness or it is the phenotype, like the activity matching,
Mhm.
which one of the two matters when it comes to schooling together of the two species.
Okay.
So what
Okay.
we are seeing so far is maybe relatedness is not the main criteria. Maybe they can also school with a very distantly related species as well, as long as they are able to match the speed and the
Mhm.
activity majorly.
And I was just reading, I think maybe on your blog, that the more phylogenetically distinct they are, more
Yeah.
effort or more cost they have to pay
Yes.
to motion in a group. So first, I would like to understand like what is that cost? What if two different species come together and they want to move together? What is that actually cost? In what sense we say it's a cost?
So if we talk about schooling, first of all, why do fishes school? So the major things that that we have come up with so far is anti-predation and foraging benefits. Right? They are able to find food better and they are able to escape the predator better. And those benefits will be enhanced when there is a better coordination between the fishes. Right? But a fish will be able to coordinate better with its own species as compared to a different species. So the next
True. Yeah.
hypothesis would be that it will be able to coordinate better with a closely related species as compared to a distantly related species. So the cost
True.
might increase. But what I am seeing with my research is that it might not be true. Like relatedness might not be something that is causing them to school together or coordinate better. If they are able to, if they are like similar phenotype, like similar body size, similar swimming speeds, and if they are able to match their activity, even if they are distantly related, they can go with each other and yeah, they can get benefits from each other.
Okay. And that must be applying to the non-aquatic animals as well. So there are examples of such equations, different species, unrelated, foraging together.
Yeah. In birds, you see that all the time. Mixed species flocks. I mean, in birds, there is a wide literature available on the mixed species flocking. Even there are some studies that say that most of the flocks, birds might prefer to pair with or associate with the related ones, or at least phenotypically related ones. which is similar in size or have similar food. But then there are also studies which show that they might have complementary benefits, like one bird is providing the food, the other is access to food, and the other is providing some anti-predation or vigilance benefits. So yeah, there are all kinds of hypotheses, and we are trying to understand which one really holds true for, which one is more acceptable.
Interesting. And what will be the benefit, like once you have the output after your PhD, you will uh, you will put forward, okay, these factors might affect when two different species are coming together and foraging. So what will be its implications in sense of ecology and conservation?
So there can be several benefits. Like first of all, there is a huge literature gap in this area. Like collective motion in itself, how individuals interact while moving as a group, has been majorly 90% studied in single species groups, and we have a very less understanding of what happens when two species come together. So we will first of all we'll have a better understanding of the interaction between the species as in terms of collective motion. And second thing at the top of my head can be about the invasive species. So if my hypothesis holds true, and if we are saying that distantly related species or which are not related at all in terms of habitat or any way, they are still able to school together, then we can say that these invasive species might be able to interfere with the schools of the native species. So now there are chances they could be enhancing them or benefiting them in some way, or they could be disrupting their behavior as well. So that can be like one of the future prospects that someone can look into from this study. And yeah, understanding the interaction rule in itself is a very important fundamental study.
Maybe after 2 more years from here, you'll have better, you know, uh, way to say, maybe you'll have more outputs to. So, okay, I have got this result on this basis. Yeah, you can
Yeah,
move forward with this.
yeah.
So now you're working on aquatic organisms, but for your masters, you worked on moth, wax moth, if I'm wrong. And last time, like I was having this conversation with Pritha about moth, so I was very much interested. Like, you worked on greater wax moth. So how you changed from moth to fishes?
Yeah, it was a fascinating and both scary transition for me. So
Okay.
when I came here for the interview, I had chosen two labs which were working on insects, but then I interacted with Vishu, my current supervisor, for a very small period of time, and I was just fascinated by the idea of interdisciplinary sciences and of the thought that I could work on something entirely different, which was both like challenging but also seemed like something interesting that can be done. So our lab mainly works on mathematical and theoretical ecology. I'm one of the few experimentalists in the lab. So yeah, well, they are building the models and theory, and I'm trying to prove it right with my experiments. It's something like that. So my work is to collect the data. But yeah, so when I got the idea, so I had worked on insects for like 4 years, 3 to 4 years before coming here, and I had mostly I have mostly accepted the idea of devoting my life to working on insects back then.
Okay.
But when I got this opportunity on working on completely different area, so I just thought like maybe yeah, let's give it a chance and let's see. So yeah, I dived into it and it was interesting at first and it got scary for a for a major part of time when I was not able to understand most of the things because it was all very new for me. But yeah, step by step, time by time, when you stay consistent, I was able to understand things and I think now I have got a much better hang of it as compared to when I joined. And yeah,
And
maybe in next 2 years I would know things even a lot better.
yeah, definitely. And why you chose this particular moth, greater wax moth, for your dissertation?
So my master's was in agricultural entomology, so it has to be something applied, my research. So greater wax moth is a very serious pest of honeycombs and storage wax. So it was a big problem in that area, uh, especially during the winters. So they just finished the hives and mostly the stored wax. So my supervisor wanted me to work on their some eco-friendly management. So I started with working on the biology of the moth. Like if we so greater wax moth is also a very good agent for the rearing of these parasitoids,
Okay.
which are also uh, biocontrol agents in agriculture. So to rear
Okay.
those parasitoids in lab, we need food for them. So that
Okay.
food can be greater wax moth. So
Oh.
the first part of my thesis was to try to figure out some artificial light for their rearing. Because if you're going to feed them the comb, it's going to be very expensive. So it won't be like a very good trade-off. So
Okay.
uh, that was the one thing that I worked on, and then I tried to work on the management of the moth inside the apiaries, for which
Okay.
I tried to understand the pheromones, which did not work out very well. But I was trying to build up some pheromone composition for the monitoring inside the apiaries. And the other thing was light trap. So I try to understand what kind of light traps we can build for their monitoring, yeah, mainly monitoring, and then some formulations of biopesticides for their control.
Okay.
So yeah.
And when I was reading your, this project, and when I just searched a bit about greater wax moth, so I just saw their larvae get inside the this bee honeycomb. Their structure they get inside. So I just curiously wanted to ask how is even possible that their larvae get inside their community which is full of
Yeah,
honeybees. How they reach there?
so it's mainly the pest of the stored combs, but it can also infest a honeybee colony. So the moth will basically lay the eggs in the hive somewhere, and now these larvae will start creating this silk-like structure in which the bees will get trapped, or the larvae which are developing inside the combs won't be able to escape. So they will start dying like that, and it can like spread and infest the entire comb if you're not like monitoring properly.
Okay. So after this, your masters, you started preparing for GATE and
Yeah.
competitive exams?
Yeah. So my
And
first choice was to go for a PhD in entomology itself. So I had given some exam for agriculture entomology, but sadly I didn't got any admission there, which turned out to be a good thing later, since I got an even better institute later. So
yeah.
then I also prepared, because I did not got exam in that university. I started preparing for GATE, and I thought of IISc as an option. So it was COVID time and I was at home, so I prepared for GATE, and yeah,
And
so
how
there was that.
was the whole? If I'm, if my research is correct, you got Prime Minister Research Fellowship as well. For
Yeah, I
Yes.
received it
So
last
now
year.
you are, so now you are getting that fellowship, right?
Yeah.
PMRFP.
I was actually the last
So
batch to get it. Now the tenure has ended for that.
oh,
Yeah, so it was a 5 year scheme, and my batch was the last one.
oh, nice, perfectly on time.
Yeah.
So how was it actually? Many of my friends and all, they do have this confusion. Even some of the juniors. What's the actually procedure for this PMRF?
Well, it won't be very relevant to anyone now, but still, so the procedure is you have to be in some centrally funded university like IITs, IISc, or BHU, or I think there are a few more. So there are only a certain number of universities where you have to be a student, and then there is a lateral and direct entry procedure. So direct entry is if you have also done your masters from one of these universities and you have a GPA of more than 8.5, then you can just
Okay.
directly apply. Also, if you have a gate score of 750, I think there's some specific cutoff for that. So you can apply in your first year itself. But if you don't fulfill those criteria, you can apply in your second year, which is the lateral entry. For that, you have to have done some 15 credits with a GPA of more than 8.5. And then
Okay.
You get shortlisted from your department based on your score, which is decided from your GPA, from your thesis proposal, from the number of publications you have, and any research experience you have. And based on all of that, you're shortlisted, and then it's forwarded to the PMRF committee, and that's how you get selected.
Okay. Nice. So, uh, those who really wanted to know this information, because I do get those messages actually. So still they are uncertain how to get it. Although, as you were telling, this was the last tenure, and
Yeah,
we don't know whether it will be there for the coming 5 years or not. But in case if it's
yeah.
there, they can.
If
It
they
can be
release a
useful.
2.0 version for that.
Yeah, definitely. So, you always wanted to do PhD, or you just went with the flow?
I did actually. Ever since I was a kid, and I we used to be asked, "What do you want to be when you
Hmm.
grow up?" So I think scientist was one of the thing I always had in my mind, even when I had no idea what does it mean to be a scientist. I just know they do
And
something, some weird things, and it just seemed fascinating to me. And my uncle was a scientist. He's a professor in Murdoch University in Australia. So he was kind of an inspiration as I was growing old, because I had seen him from going here to there, and the kind of lifestyle now they have compared to everyone else. So that was one inspiration. And then when I started learning science seriously after, I think, at ninth or 10th standard, I found it fascinating. I liked it, and understanding concepts was something I found interesting. Like, not just getting good marks in class or being the topper of the class, that was never the priority, but trying to understand what is actually happening. Like when we were studying the chemical reactions, or whether it was just physics or biology, whatever. I found those subjects interesting, so I thought of becoming a professor one day. Also, I
and
found
I've
teaching interesting. So,
yeah, I was just saying, like, you have been through school. Your father is a teacher.
yeah, he's a teacher,
Been
but
to
he's
his.
also an entrepreneur, kind of an agripreneur. So he has his
Hmm.
own setup built at home, a zero budget farming thing, where so he started this 10 years ago, and now he has like done tons of stuff, which is like really inspiring. So where we have these solar panels, water harvesting plants, then gobar gas plant, so then agricultural fields, then water harvesting tanks. We also have a well from where we get the water. So, I mean, yeah,
Oh,
that is a whole subject for an entire session to talk about it.
yeah.
But yeah, he's
So
also
you
doing great work.
and you do go to his school to inspire young kids. You have gone to your uh, Pant University as well, if I'm not wrong, to give some
Yeah.
lectures.
Yeah, so we are supposed to do a teaching assistantship as a part of our PMRF scholarship. So for that I went to my last college. So they asked me to give a lecture to the students to inspire them a little bit. So I talked to them, and then it was my last day at home, and I told my father that I'll come with you to the school today. I don't want to just stay at home. So I went there, and then they were like, "Now you're here, you give them a lecture or something, inspire them." Then yeah, so I talked to the kids. It was nice.
Okay. So now coming back to your PhD time, how much as other activities has helped you as of now? Like you do basketball, you play basketball, you have got
Yeah,
some silver medal as in that. So
yeah.
how is it?
So
How your
it's actually very
research and
difficult to manage sports with. It shouldn't be ideally, but for me, it was to manage lab work with sports because I do experimental work, so it gets very hectic. Like, but while we had that tournament coming up, we were practicing like crazy for those 5 6 months. But it was also very like best time, and yeah, it helps you like have that balance in your life because you're doing a lot of mental work, so it can get depressing sometimes. And when you're constantly working on just one thing, your mind can get frustrated or depressed. So if you're also playing a game and if you're also doing other activities, so it is important to like incorporate it forcefully if it's not
yeah,
happening, to
true, true.
maintain that balance in your life.
And
Yeah.
As you have told in your YouTube channel that you have about inferiority complex, about failures you come across, about procrastination, about imposter syndrome. So have you come across all these things? As I guess you might have. So how
Yeah.
you deal with it? So would you like to
Yeah.
tell?
Yeah, so when I was a new PhD student, when I had joined it, I had imposter syndrome, like an inferiority complex for a long time, and it took me some time to cope up with all of that stuff because IISc is like one of the best institute, and everyone here is like the top cream. So when you see people around you, everybody has like accomplished so much, everybody is doing so well, and it gets intimidating when you're new to yeah. So it was at first you I used to feel like maybe I'm like I don't belong here, maybe I'm not good for this, and maybe I won't be able to do it. But then yeah, I kept reading these motivational books or lectures or keep telling myself. Then I tried meditation, and yeah, when you keep but one of the very important thing that I did was like showing up every day for work. Keep going. Like no matter how low you're feeling, no matter how difficult it is, just go to lab and you'll figure things out and do something. And things keep coming. Like when you're there, you're doing work, you'll keep getting things to work on. And when you keep going step by step, one step at a time, things work out in the long term. So yeah, I think that's how I majorly uh, overcome most of those feelings by showing up every day. And yeah. But I thought like the reason I want to talk about those things on my channel is because when I was feeling those things, I felt like I was the only one. But I know that wasn't just me. Everybody feel those things. So
Yeah.
if people watch those videos, so yeah, they're gonna feel some comfort in their heart. So
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. And I think as of my experiences, as I have talked to others, I think there are very less, if not everyone, have
yeah,
felt the same point or the other. So
yeah.
what apart from your these activities and these problems, what are the actual difficulties you face during your uh, actual research time, like getting specimen in
Oh.
the sense getting
Yeah.
fishes,
So it is
difficulties.
really challenging to do the experiments. I mean the if you set a timeline for a month for a work, it'll take you 6 months to finish that actually. Because a lot of things are not in your control. Just like getting the fishes itself. You have to call the vendor like a million times before he's gonna deliver. And it's not his fault also. It won't be available. If he sends it could be a sick batch, the size could be different. So there are like so many unpredictabilities, and so it takes a long time to just get the fishes itself. Then sometimes the temperature could be very low, like during the winter. So if the temperature drops, then you cannot perform the experiment. Then we tried adding heaters and all that stuff, but yeah, so a lot of things put a lot of challenge to this work, to the experiments. And sometimes you have recorded the entire video, you have finished the trial, and then you see the camera was turned off in the middle of the video for some reason. And that is like so heartbreaking. And you were just
Oh.
about to leave for the day, and now you have to do it again. So, yeah, and tracking the videos is also very challenging. So, once one of my colleague was tracking a video for like 2 days manually, and by the time he hit the send save button, his computer crashed and it closed. So, like 2 days of work to waste. So, there are all kinds of challenges,
Then what
and
do you
sometimes
what?
there are yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Please continue.
and sometimes there are unpredictable things. Like one day I was filling up the water for the experiment, and suddenly I turned off the switch, and there was a power cut off, and and that line was gone, and it took me like a week to get it fixed. And yeah, there is and one time the RO stops working, then you have to call the guy, and then sometimes people fool you as well. There is one thing wrong, and they're gonna change the whole thing, and you don't know who to trust and who to blame. So there are so many challenges also. But I think that is a good thing. You learn a lot because life is not going to be easy later. So we should keep learning these things as well like what kind of challenges we can face. And yeah,
True,
things
true,
cannot always be done according to our timeline. Even if I do my best, things will only work out the way they work out.
true. That's so true. So,
Yeah.
ever happened to you that you put a video camera on and you forgot to start it, or at the end you lost
Well,
the
I never
data?
forgot to start it, but sometimes the camera shows the glitch and the video gets turned off in the middle. So you have to do it again.
And you
So
have
even if you're doing
to
your
repeat.
best, yeah, obviously it did not got recorded. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice. Actually, there are practical problems. And I think in your case, there are mortality in fishes as well, right? When you receive
Yeah,
the,
that is very sad actually.
yeah,
Because when you are working on fishes, you fell in love with the fishes. You love them like your kids. And when you see them dying, it's just so heartbreaking. Now I've gotten a bit used to it, but in the beginning, it was just like so depressing looking at the fishes dying and not being able to do anything to save them. Because sometimes if the batch is infested, and then the entire batch will die day by day. You'll see them dying, which is so sad.
okay.
But
And
that
your
is
fishes,
very rare.
mhm.
Mostly they
And they
survive.
come across from,
Sorry.
they come from a long distance, or you buy from the local.
So because we need large numbers, so they come from either Chennai or Mangaluru. Okay. The vendor has different contacts, so he orders it from different places.
And how is it, moving from all the way from Nainital to Bangalore?
Yeah,
How are the
it was
mental difficulties in shifting food
it
habits
was
and
hard.
other?
I think it's
Yeah.
still hard for me. Even on the days when I don't have any work and I'm just in my room, it gets depressing. I get homesick a lot, even now. And I'm still waiting for my PhD to end so I can go back home and be in my native place. But it's nice also. Like I got to learn a lot of things, and I also learned a lot about myself. Like I realized one thing when you're put into a completely different environment. So like up until now in my life, a lot of my behavior was predicted by my environment. So most of me, it was not me, it was the people around me. But when I moved here, everything was gone and it was just me. So now I was able to see a lot of myself, like who am I really? A bit of philosophical stuff, but yeah, I explored a lot about myself after coming here.
True,
And
because
yeah,
now,
you become self-dependent and you learn so many things during this period, and it's like you're a cocoon during your PhD. You're just developing
yeah,
and growing inside your institute, and then you'll be a butterfly by the time you end. Something like that.
and you're out of your comfort zone, so definitely you'll get to know very different aspects of life. That is for sure. So, what would
Yeah.
you recommend someone who's just done with masters?
Yeah.
What would you recommend? It's 2 years, I think. 2 years completed in your PhD.
Yeah. Yeah. So one thing is whether you want to do a PhD or not. So I would say you should only go into it if you are really passionate about it and if you really want to. Like, otherwise, because it's a long journey and it's a challenging journey. So yeah, don't just go into it without thinking it through unless you're very
And
sure. Yeah,
and do you second guess your decision on that after 2 years? No.
no, never. I had always known I wanted to do this. But a lot of people don't, and like I never knew what topic I wanted to research in. I was open to everything. I felt like everything is interesting, I can go with anything, but I knew I wanted to do research. So if you know it very well in your heart, then great, go for it. But if you're not sure, then think it through, because it's a long journey. And once you're here, then you should be mentally prepared that there are going to be unexpected challenges that I mostly try to talk about on my channel, but but still there are so many challenges that you're going to face. So yeah, you should be prepared for them. It's not going to be easy. And a few things that I discovered over the 2 years was like one thing is so self accountability is one thing for PhD students, I think. Like there is not going to be someone sitting on your head all the time and monitoring your progress. It's like how it used to be in school, and even till bachelor's and master's, we used to have our teachers monitoring us. So you have to monitor yourself. Otherwise, days will just go by and you wouldn't have made any progress. So I think one good thing, one thing that you can do is maintain a calendar and plan your week ahead of time, and just put at least 1 to 2 tasks for every day. What do you want to do? And it won't be very up to date, but you can try to keep up with that calendar. So you keep making progress and you can keep tracking your progress. And one thing can be maintaining a to-do list, because there are so many small things that you have to do that usually skip our mind. Like you have to submit a bill, or you have to read this paper that you heard of, or you have to order the fishes or whatever. You can just write all of that down, and you can just keep going back to that list at least once a day, so you don't forget anything. And one very important thing and very useful thing is journaling at the end of the day, which I personally found very useful. I started it like a year ago, and what I basically do is at the end of the day, I just write down three major things about what went right today, what went wrong today, and how I can fix what went wrong today, tomorrow. So when you do that, a lot of your life gets on track, and a lot of your work gets under your control. And I wouldn't say you have complete control over your life. You can never have that, but a lot of it will be in your control, and especially in terms of your mental health, because sometimes it feels like things are falling apart. But if you are journaling at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you have already gotten everything out of your system. So you can have a peaceful sleep. And when you wake up, the day will be like completely new. And you will already have a target for the day that you have written down in your journal yesterday. So these can be a few useful things that you can implement. Even if not on daily basis, at least 2 or 3 times a day can be good enough, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, nice take home message. Take responsibility, take accountability of your work, and
Yeah.
definitely you'll have to track your own progress. Thank you for that message. And someone has asked, Tanisha has asked, what's the best part of working with fish with experimental work in general? What would you say
Uh,
to that?
So I think fishes are one of the most calm and peaceful animals. Like, and also one of the most easily maintaining. Like, you just have to put them in water. They're not going to go anywhere. Unlike the moths I was working on earlier, you open the box and they fly away, and then you're catching them for the entire day. So I think fish is a great model to work on. And sometimes I'm just not doing anything and I'm just sitting and looking at those fishes in the aquarium. And that is like a therapy for me itself. So I think that is the best part. Yeah. Yeah. I really like my test model. But of course, when you do an experiment, no matter how challenging it is, when it's completed, you feel this sense of accomplishment. That is another good thing. And then when you track and you analyze your results and you don't get anything, and then you keep trying again and again, doing the same thing. But at the end, when you find something, it is going to be so worth it. Like that feeling will be worth the effort you've put into. So, yeah, those things.
Thank you. I think that was very clear-cut answer. That's really cool advice. Definitely, that was. Uh, any other interesting incident you would like to share in last two years, which happened to you during PhD?
Yeah, so I remember when I was in first year, there was this panel discussion going on, and I asked them, what is the advice you want to give to the first years? And one person said, enjoy your life as much as you want to in your first year, because go and travel. And I did travel a lot during my first year, and I felt like why I did not relate to that at that moment. I felt like I can keep traveling throughout my PhD, but I think that was really true. It's very hard to take time out to go out and yeah, for yourself when once you get caught up in your work, because you always have work. It's never gonna end, and yeah, you're always thinking about your work. So yeah. Also, one thing that I was reading on Instagram today was there was this post, and he has given like 5 things and asked if you have how many do you have out of those five? And it was like work-life balance, mental health, physical health, good relationship with your parents, and a good relationship with your partner. And a lot of people had written that they have hardly have one out of the list. But I felt like I have all the five. And I also felt like we can have all the five. We should normalize having all the five. Like right now, I think most of the people have normalized having a bad mental health as a PhD student, or having a bad work-life balance, or having a bad relationship because you are doing a PhD. And I think I felt like we should not normalize that. We can maintain all of these things while doing a PhD as well. And yeah, so that was something I wanted to say.
Nice learning.
And
Nice learning. And
yeah.
what other activities you do in a day apart from your research to keep yourself, driven throughout the day?
So most of the days when I'm doing experiments, it's very difficult to do anything else. Like it's 9 to 5, and you come back, you can maybe sit and meditate for a while, or probably you're gonna scroll your phone because you're so tired, and then you're just gonna eat and sleep if you can sleep. I have sleeping issues, and something that I'm struggling with. So, but yeah, on the days when I can get time, well, earlier I used to go for swimming. I need to restart. And yeah, basketball sometimes. That also I haven't done in a long time. I've been very caught up with my comprehensive exam for the last 2 months. I also like to go for photography sometimes. I like going out with the camera. And IISc is a beautiful campus, by the way. And it's
Yeah,
worth spending time with your camera here.
yeah.
And well, yeah, recently I've started the YouTube channel, which I'm not very consistent with again because again hard to find time. But yeah, so those are the things that I like to do in my free time.
And you also run a blog post, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, so I
Where you
started that like 3-4 years ago during COVID when I was at home. Yeah, so yeah, since now I've moved to a different field, I try to still keep up my love for the insects through that blog sometimes.
and
Yeah.
I think that university is quite very much known for about insects and insect studies, right?
Which university?
The
The
university you
uni-
did masters in, GB Pant, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, the entomology program is good there.
Yeah, I have a friend during my from my bachelor's who is doing PhD there. So she does tell the same thing. Like it's a beautiful area is quite beautiful. It's a hilly place. That
Yeah.
definitely it's your hometown. So
Yeah. So Panagar is a city in itself. It is the largest, area-wise largest university in the world, I think, first or second. So it is a very big area dedicated to agriculture, and yeah, you can find all sorts of insects there. So we have the entire department dedicated to entomology. So there's a lot of work going on insects there. Yeah.
nice, nice. Thank you so much, Janvi. That was such a short, crisp, and very refreshing conversation.
Thank you.
And I hope you come out with flying colors after your PhD. And if we get chance, we definitely will do another after 2 or 3 years when you are done with your PhD to and
Yeah.
to see how it has gone. And as this video will be here, so maybe after two
Yeah.
3 years you'll be able to see what's the difference now.
Yeah. I would
So
like that.
thank
Okay.
Thank you so much for giving your time and giving those such valuable lessons and suggestions. So those who are here, it will be recorded, it will be uploaded here. They can find out, and if they have any queries regarding, your research idea, they can text you either here or
Yeah.
on your Instagram, if that's fine.
Yeah.
Janvi is having a blog post. You can go check it out. She's having YouTube channel where she actually shares quite valuable thing I would say in PhD, how to deal with those mental stuff because we give 4 5 years of our life during our PhD, so we do have to we need to take time out for those other stuff as well. So thank you again. Hope to see you very soon, and all
Okay.
the very best.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah. And thank you everyone. Thank you for joining in. And tomorrow morning around 11 o'clock, we have another guest with us. She will be talking about coastal area and communities, how they are, interrelated. And tomorrow also we'll have one fascinating talk. So do join by 11 o'clock tomorrow in the morning. And till then, see you. Follow this page. And also, if you have someone, your friend or someone you would like to suggest me to approach them for having this session, do message me. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you for joining. See you tomorrow.